What's up, Whisper Nation? It is July 19th, Monday, which you know means another mock draft coming your way. This time we got a 12-team PPR. Let's get it going. Right here. Johnny Game Time Hicks, Big Travie, what's going on, man?
What's up? What is up? We're doing it, man. The last mock draft Monday before the mock draft marathon. Big things headed into this weekend, but we got a lot of questions, Austin, in the Discord. Hey, you guys still mocking, even though you're going to do like 50 of them, 1 million of them this weekend? Yeah, we're crazy about that.
Big Travie, you're talking about the mock draft marathon. For the uninitiated, can you tell us what's going on this weekend?
Yeah, so this is our flagship show, man. This is what we hang our hat on. This is our way to bring the community together with the people that we love in Whisper Nation. We bring the fantasy football community in. We do 24 straight hours of mock drafting. You guys love these mock draft Mondays so much. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you click notifications, because this Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, we're kicking it off. And we're kicking it off with none other than Liz Loza of Yahoo Fantasy, who is going to be our kickoff. She's going to take some time out of her busy schedule covering the Olympics to come and join us, scrubs, and mock a little bit, get a little crazy with us. And then we're going to go all full circle from 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are going 24 hours of mock draft marathon through YouTube. And then we're going to close it out with our boy Josh Hudson and Faith over at Club Fantasy FFL, who we are linking up with to co-sponsor this event, as we give all the proceeds that we're going to raise for this raffle when we do giveaways. Also, we're going to give that money to the Women in Sports Foundation as our flagship charity for this event. And Josh and the boys, Faith, Joe, and who am I forgetting here? Ryan Weiss, of course, all over there, going to be helping us out with that charity. So super pumped for this year. Going to be great.
That's great. And Johnny, you were talking, or Travis, you were talking about some of the different charities and some of the different sponsorships. And I know we've got different ways to join a lot of those mock drafts. Johnny, can you share a little bit about those details?
Yeah, so I will put up on the screen here. We will be sharing links to each of those rooms, because we want Whisper Nation to join in on those, mock with some of the best analysts in the entire industry. And so obviously those Patreon subscribers of ours will get first access to those links. You could get that at the $5 level. And those links will be put out before the mock drafts. And then if there are any spots left open, then the Discord channel will be dropped in there. And if you're, lucky enough after that, if they're not filled up, we will be tweeting those out, those links out. So
if I understand this correctly, Johnny, not to cut you off, but I want to make sure I get this right, because I want to make sure that none of my homies who are really looking to get in on the mock draft marathon action might be looking to draft alongside of Liz Loza, might be looking to draft alongside the boys at Club FFL. Maybe even have we talked? Did you mention our extra special guest?
No, we didn't. Okay. You can go ahead and announce it.
If you want to go ahead and draft with historic coach Hugh Jackson, who's a big fantasy football fan and is going to be a part of the mock draft marathon. That's right. Former Raiders and Cleveland Browns head coach, Baker Mayfield's favorite of all time. You can draft alongside with him just by joining our Patreon at the $5 level and coming and getting those links ahead of time and being a part of the draft rooms. If we do have spillover, it's coming over on Twitter. But if you join up on Patreon, you can catch the links as soon as Johnny drops them and be a part of any of the mock drafts we're doing for the 24-hour run, drafting alongside of some of the industry's best.
Bam, nailed it. Boom. That's why you're the best in the industry, Austin, because you could summarize really well.
Well, and speaking of summaries, thank you so much for that. We'll put it together. I want to give a shout out here to Whisper Nation, because we got a lot of mock drafts coming up next week, but we've got a hell of a mock drafts queued up for you right now. We got Johnny Game Time here in the 1 spot, the Cat's Pajamas at number 2, Pizza Belly at 3, like that name, Freak Stomp at 4. Good names on this one.
Freak Stomp.
Freak Stomp. What was that what Edward Norton had in American History X? I don't know. Meeks in the 5, Brocal 38 at 6, Jay Bley at 7, The Real Whisper, formerly Death by Rona at 8, Drew K. Lou at 9, NYG Noah at 10, Don Flick at 11. What's up, Donnie? And Big Travie there in the 12 spot. Whisper Nation, thanks for joining us here. If you are listening and didn't have a chance to join a part of this actual sleeper room, make sure you're following the Discord link. That's where we're dropping the links out first. and then follow alongside on Twitter because you can catch it after that. But just catch it early on the Discord link. Do your parents a favor. It'll make them happy.
You guys ready? You ready?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
If you give me permission, I'll start the draft here.
Yeah, you have to start.
Do I have permission?
Yeah, you have. I'm first on the clock here, and it won't take long for me.
All right, I'm starting it.
All right, none to it but to do it. I'm gonna do. I do think that Dalvin Cook is very worthy of that #1 overall pick, but I will go ahead and take CMC here because I rarely ever draft CMC. So why not?
I want to ask you on this. There was a Facebook thread that some of our mutual sports fans had started saying, who are you taking 1 overall? Michael Boley came in the comments and said it's between McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, or Derrick Henry. My stance on this one is I'm actually shifting it to Derrick Henry, and the reasoning behind it is his ceiling is elite, but I think his floor is unquestioned the highest. Is that an unfair position if you're trying to take the lowest risk with still high upside take, or is it should you be going for more upside in a Christian McCaffrey play, Johnny?
I mean, I think that both CMC and Dalvin Cook have tremendous upside. So it just it goes back to like last year, right? When the whole battle was between CMC and Saquon Barkley. Now, neither one of those guys really panned out for you, but we always argued me and you, we really like Saquon. My sole argument was that, CMC, and we've never seen a running back repeat #1 overall. And that was why I was staying away. And I got a lot of flack for it. But I think when you're #1 and you're deciding between a talented running back in Dalvin Cook, who they've upgraded that offensive line, mind you, there was, especially with their right tackle, horrible at the run blocking and getting over in that zone, on the stretch plays. So they got a new rookie in there to help shore up that line. I actually think Dalvin Cook could even have a bigger year than what he had last year, which is why I like taking him #1. But like I said, CMC, I don't really draft him too often, so I might as well try it out here, see how I like it.
I like that take on there. And Travis, you're on the opposite side here. You're at the 12 spots, and none of those elite running backs are going to be available to you unless something really crazy happens. What are you hoping for? What's an ideal shakeup, and what's an also expectation if you're at the backside of a draft in a PPR or standard format?
Johnny and I just did a video on like a strategy for our Patreon subscribers, and it was the RB anchor strategy. Like if you go RB anchor, who were you able to, that one RB in the first round, who are you able to kind of get in the second round? Yeah. I still think I'm going to go a little RB anchor here. I want to go Austin Eckler if Donnie doesn't take him right here. That's my choice. I'm going to go Austin Eckler, and I'm able to do that. And then I also want to turn around and get Devonta Adams. I don't know how 3 wide receivers left, and Devonta Adams wasn't one of them. So this is kind of what I wanted to end up with at the end, and it kind of fell into my lap this way. So I just think that Adams is poised again to be in such a narrow target tree. We've talked about Aaron Rodgers set to report to camp. We've got Devonta Adams just dominating as a touchdown scorer for this team. Nobody really added of note, and I just think Austin Eckler gets slept on as an elite wide receiver at the running back position. Just because he's he's undrafted. He's had a little bit of injury history last year, but he came back and fought through that hamstring injury to really dominate once he got on the field with Herbert. So.
And you're just saying, and there's no concern from an injury or an undersized perspective or a lack of perceived volume. Maybe that's something like
maybe a little bit of goal line. We've seen him kind of get vultured on the goal line a little more because he is smaller, but his elite wide receiver abilities, his elite pass catching abilities, I mean, his yards per route run at the running back position are top notch. And I think in a PPR especially, but in any kind of format, catches for the running back are way more valuable than a carry because they're able to do more with that on any given basis,
I do want to ask you one follow-up question here, not necessarily about Austin Eckler, but about another running back that you didn't take, because these are they're a little bit hair-splitting, but these are the big decisions that come your draft. You're sitting there on the clock, and you might not have thought 2 guys were available, and they both are. And the trajectory of your season could be on the line with this. So
absolutely.
Travi, why'd you go with Austin Eckler instead of Aaron Jones?
Yeah, so I debated that. I think to diversify my bonds a little bit, not having both Packers, I wouldn't mind it. Those are the
Because you were
Packers
taking
to
Adams.
own. Yeah, but I knew I wanted Adams, and it was a hair split, like you said. It was like, okay, do I take Aaron Jones here or do I take Austin Eckler? I invested in both of those offenses instead of just one offense. Should something happen. If we're talking undersized, Aaron Jones is also an undersized guy, not as undersized as Austin Eckler. He's got his own concerns. I don't think I subscribe to those. I think that, the real whisper, obviously, Scott is over here with a nice value. I mean, he was next on the list, him and Cam Akers there. But yeah, it was just a personal preference, just splitting hairs here, mocking it up a little bit.
And I want to go ahead and answer my own question before we kick it to Johnny on this one, because I was thinking, what about Cam Akers? That looks like maybe a bell cow type of back. But I'm going to say, from my perspective, one of the things I picked up over the last couple of years is, especially in that first round, I'm not looking for question marks. There are so many sky-high players, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds continuing down. In that first round, don't pull a CEH of last year, who I was a big fan of. And even if the situation is right and you expect for it to happen, I would rather take someone who we've already seen do it and has all of the variables in line to do it again versus somebody who probably should, but we haven't yet seen. Get those players a little bit further down the line. That's the way I would take it from drafting, especially in that first round. Minimize the risk, up the risk and the ceiling as you work your way down the draft.
Oh, and that's all over your take for Derrick Henry just a little bit ago, too. Like, that's the same kind of DNA of that take. It's like, are we trying to minimize, are we trying to minimize risk here? Or are we trying to shoot for the moon? And I think, like you said, like, you can get a ceiling out of Derrick Henry, but you're going to get a floor out of that guy.
Johnny, bringing it back to you. I know you're on the clock right now, but you got 2 minutes here to pick. This is a really interesting position. What are you looking for right now, and what do you normally expect at the backside, picking at the 1 at that 2-3 turn?
I expect a lot of value here at that, because, like you said, there's a lot of players, especially with how some of these other guys are going, that they just fall. I want to mention Devonta Adams falling could be a result of, again, people are still unsure if Aaron Rodgers is going to show up, but reports are coming out now that he is going to report to Green Bay Packers training camp. So I expect Devonta Adams to jump back up to the number 1. As far as what I'm looking for here, I am definitely going to grab AJ Brown, because I think that's a tremendous fall and steal there. Now I have a difficult decision, though, to be honest with you, because I think that the RB anchor strategy is going to be heavily used this year. I think that a lot of people are realizing that, hey, I don't necessarily have to have like this solid RB2. I can fill in, especially in a PPR, I can fill in with some guys later on in the draft and be okay, and just like change those pieces out. And so I think what we're starting to see is, a lot of this RB1 anchor strategy, where you take a solid RB in the first round and then you're filling out the rest of your roster and then just grabbing a couple late round dart throw running backs later on. It is a little bit difficult right now, though. I'm not going to lie. I really want to take DeAndre Swift here, my boy. But I've got.
But you're a reasonable man.
I am. I'm going.
Maybe
I'm gonna actually do something I rarely do. I'm gonna take Calvin Ridley here.
I like it,
man. With AJ Brown. I do believe Calvin Ridley will have a touchdown regression season coming up because there is no more Julio. We saw, Calvin without Julio, his touchdowns were cut in half. And so when not are looking at that data right now, saying, oh, he should have the number 1 target opportunity, and he will, but there also comes a price at that. And what we've seen over history of not only Ridley, but over Matt Ryan, is Julio was there. His number 1, and Julio was never a big target, touchdown guy. And then what we saw is kind of the same thing happen when they switched to Ridley as the number 1. When Julio was out, it was Gage that was getting the touchdowns. It was Zacchaeus that was getting the touchdowns. So was there a huge sample size to say 100% that's the case every single time with Matt Ryan and his number 1 and number 2s? I'm not sure, but it is an interesting trend that I am definitely eyeing. So,
and Johnny,
let
me ask you about this one too, because and not to beat up here on the Falcons, but it's been a very viable hotspot for fantasy production for many years. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Freeman, Tariq Cohen. Who was Devontae Freeman's backup for a long time?
Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman. Thanks. A lot of Tony Gonzalez, Austin Hooper, even for a flash, Hayden Hurst. Like, they've had a lot of fantasy viable players all across the roster. But with Dave Ragone coming in as the offensive coordinator, Johnny, do you expect to see any shift in that high-powered, voluminous passing attack?
Absolutely. Great point. It's actually going to be Arthur Smith that's going to be doing the offensive, even though he's the head coach, he's also running the offense there, Austin. And I got into a little bit of a Twitter battle this weekend with someone that was, he was very adamant that Arthur Smith was going to change his system because Atlanta was top. They've been top 3 in passing attempts over the last 3 seasons. However, you look at Arthur Smith and what he does, they were bottom 3 the last 2 years in pass attempts. So I do think there's going to be a drastic change. There's been a lot of comments that have come out by Arthur Smith saying, this is my system. I will fit these guys into my system. It will work. And a lot of people tend to believe, oh, that's just coach talk this early. We've seen this time and time again where coaches they don't change their stripes. They don't. They are if they're a tiger, they're a tiger, and
this is what got them here.
Exactly. And so what you're going to see is a lot of 11 personnel. And which is also why I'm not so high on Kyle Pitts, because most people just think that Hayden Hurst is going to fade into the background, but that's not the reality. Both Jonnu and Ferkser last year had 13% market share in that. The Ferkter, they both had 13%. So Hurst will be annoying to people who take Pitt because Hurst is going to get 10 to 12% market share. It's the reality, and he'll steal some touchdowns. So
be aware of it, right?
Yeah, be aware.
And speaking of being aware, Travis, I know you're coming up to make some picks, but we got some great questions that are coming in from the community chat here. Zeke Waller was mentioned by Tony Reimer here, and I bring that up because Waller was mentioned down just a little bit later. Tony also said, I was planning on the anchor running back strategy, but couldn't pass on Swift. Love him, Phil, PPR, man, speaking of Johnny's heart.
Yeah.
Pizza Belly, this is the question I kind of wanted to get to. Pizza Belly asks, how early would you draft Waller and or Kittle? And I especially wanted to know from Travis' take, because he really influenced me last year in our league of record. And I went and took Kittle. I was in the 1-1 spot. I took Kittle at that 2-3 turn. And I loved it. You can't predict injuries. And at the time, he was points per game, number 1 tight end. I think he was even ahead of Kittle after he had that massive 20-point game coming back. So where do you think right now? And then with Waller, because we've talked about Waller, how he's actually this great wide receiver. He's getting like 1,100 yards. And there's reason to believe he's even going to be more opportunistic this year. They haven't improved their wide receivers. You're banking on development, but Waller's going to develop even more, and he's got the trust of Carr and Gruden. What do you think, Travi, here about the Kittle-Waller situation?
I think this draft kind of went where it should. Kittle's got a little bit more question marks this year than he did last year coming in with Trey Lance. We don't know when Trey Lance will be in. We don't know how that will affect Kittle. We like to think that it will be good. Just on the basis of like rookie quarterbacks tend to like their tight end. We see that Trey Lance did run a pro style offense, but everybody knows he's a little bit raw. They want to see what happens with him. I will say that Kittle has dominated regardless of CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, Jimmy Garoppolo. So I actually think that Kittle is the biggest value of the 3 because he's now going in the 3rd and 4th round. So I'd be more inclined to stack 2 and then take him. But I have no problem taking Kittle or Kelsey or Waller interchangeably in the 2nd round. I get why you would take Kelsey over Waller, but let's be very clear that Waller has tied him in tight end targets and got more red zone looks than he did. He tied Devonta Adams with 27 red zone targets. That's tops in the NFL. So I don't mind taking Waller or Kelsey. I would prefer Kelsey because I prefer his quarterback. I prefer his situation. I prefer the offense. But to like look away from the fact that Darren Waller is a number 1 option on his team and he's the main vein of that offense is foolish, in my opinion.
Great breakdown on here, and great to pivot here just a little bit. I want to give a big shout out here to Scott Klafiki.
Yeah.
Excuse me if I missed that last name.
Death by Rona.
That's Death by Rona.
Artist formerly known as
hashtag. He's like Ron Artest. He changes his name. He is a sponsor. He has now joined us on Patreon. Thank you so much, Scott. We appreciate you. We know you come in here a little hot, but we love the takes. We love the spice.
I do want Scott to know, though, that we're going to list him as Death by Rona and the sponsors. Okay, he can't get away from that. No, I'm just kidding, Scott. We'll put you down as we really appreciate.
He's like Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, and Panda Friend.
This is beautiful.
That's a day lifter, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
really cool.
First off, I want to ask Travis, what the hell are you doing, man? You trying to raise Chase Edmonds a draft capital all the way to the 4th round? Come on, man.
Bro, if I didn't take him there, I wasn't going to get him, right?
I know that you weren't going to get him. That's absolutely right. But man, early 4th.
I mean, this is just what's bound to happen. You're all over Twitter. I got to give props to Johnny. He's been taking it on the chest all over Twitter this last weekend. Just like you feel like Johnny's over there, like, I don't know, World of Warcrafting it out on his keyboard, and he's just like on Twitter, and he's like, Chase Edmonds. I got to talk about Chase Edmonds. I mean, he was just all over Twitter this last weekend, and I was just like, man, go. I got to see my guy go here because he's bringing the facts. People want to continue to think that Chase Edmonds isn't going to get the overall first crack at this job. And that's the important part to me, that he's going to get that first crack at it. Should he falter? Yes, James Conner is there. His leash may be shorter than we think. But the upside of that guy to be the overall guy in a Cliff Kingsbury offense that we actually could see the first time of an air raid, because he's had to do this horizontal raid because they haven't got the wide receivers right in Arizona. Now they've got something there. You got AJ Green coming out saying that he's revitalized. Kyler saying there's something big there. And then you've got, of course, DeAndre Hopkins, and then this new rookie, Rondale Moore. You get that right, open up some passing lanes for the running backs, and Chase Edmonds could feast this year. And
Travis, the defense is probably the defense is looking shiny, which is going to give the offense.
On paper, that defense should be otherworldly right now as far as pass rush. We got to see if J.J. Watt can hold up. Obviously, that's been a big thing in his career, but Chandler Jones and some of the other playmakers they have on that offense, obviously Budda Baker in the secondary. So, yeah, I just think there's a lot to be happy about in Arizona. Obviously, the Suns doing their part to make that the case in the Valley right now, but the Cardinals are right around the corner trying to make their mark as well.
No, that's a big wave, and Chase Edmonds he's moving up. And I don't want to spend too much time on this one, Johnny, because I know you could rip him for days. But Ian Hartitz said something great on the show last week. Ian Hartitz from Pro Football Focus said, we don't hate players, we hate ADP.
Hate the game.
Josh Jacobs' ADP has gone from the 3rd round when we started this year to now the 5th round, coming after guys like Myles Gaskin and Chase Edmonds. This is a man who has never gotten under 1,000 yards on the ground, averaging around 9.5 touchdowns per season in his first 2 years. Is Josh Jacobs in the 5th round a steal, Johnny? Or are you still saying not on my lawn? Get out of here, bro.
I'm more inclined in a PPR, in like a standard or half point to take him around there. I actually think that is more okay. Like you said, he's going to get over 1,000 yards most likely. Kenyon Drake has already come out and he said himself, hey, this is Josh Jacobs going to be the lead dog. I'm here to spell him and then also take the passing work. Similarly to, because it's a PPR, I would rather have Drake because he's going to get those pass catching. He's a really good pass catcher. I was a little surprised that they didn't use him more in that role here in Arizona, but you have Chase who's really good at that. So there could have been that, but I do think that Drake will have value. But yeah, I'm actually coming around a little bit on Jacobs, where he's falling to. I think that's more so the right area, because again, he's going to get touches. We know that John Gruden loves to run the ball and then run the ball some more. So I do think that Josh Jacobs is finally starting to fall into the right spot.
Speaking of coming around, the draft just came around to the 5-6 turn. And Travis, we saw you pick up Odell Beckham and Chase Claypool. The upside is forcing a smile on my face, but what was going through your mind making those 2 wide receiver selections?
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the wide receivers available. Maybe Deontay Johnson you could make the argument for, but Tyler Lockett obviously going to be with Russell Wilson, but we've talked about his inconsistency. Devonta Smith, yeah, he could be the number 1 there on a team that I'm not sure throws a ton. Deontay Johnson, we've talked about concentration issues. We've talked about Big Ben connectivity issues. And if I'm going to take a wide receiver from Pittsburgh, I think it's Claypool. He fits the alpha build. If he can increase the targets, he was only on 63% snap share last year as a rookie. This is a guy who scored 10 touchdowns as a rookie. That's big deal as far as production in the past. And then Odell Beckham has commanded 20% or 25% target market share between 20 and 25 basically every time he's been on the field with Baker. So as long as he's healthy, I don't see why he's not wide receiver top 10 in targets this year. And so for me, I want to take that with my wide receivers. I want volume. And yeah, I know we've been waiting to see OBJ's full form, but at this discount, I'll take him right here and keep stacking other wide receivers if for depth.
And just to remind folks, even though we've seen a lot of, I'll say, disappointment in Odell Beckham, the man has still had over 1,000 yards in all but just 2 seasons. And those 2 seasons, he was drastically injured and missed a lot of time. Even in that year in Cleveland where it was like, what's going on, bro? He had 1,035 yards and 4 touchdowns and didn't play every game. So it's like, yeah, he's still a story. He still wants to be there. He still wants to be that hotness. He's 28 years old. I'm excited to see what it's about. And we know if it bottoms out, whatever. But I'm pretty excited about it. I'm also excited about how many people we've got watching the show right now, boys. We got 20 folks in the live chat. We got, as Travi would say, just 10 thumbs up. If you could do us a favor and hit that thumbs up button. How does it go, Travis?
No, that's right. You had it going, man. It's just like we've got 20 people in here watching. I know you're right there. Just hit the like button. It's that easy. We've got it. Let's go.
Really helps our channel. We're like 4 away from 1,600 subscribers on YouTube.
Let's get that today.
Let's do it.
That would be awesome. We do this because we love it. It's why we're going to be doing the mock draft marathon next week, our flagship show where we do 24 straight hours of live mock drafting. It'll be like this one, but 24 hours long. Not just one draft, 24 different mock drafts every hour on the hour starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. This upcoming Saturday, that's the 24th, going until Sunday. We got a lot of great guest hosts that are joining us. Liz Loza, former NFL head coach Hugh Jackson. We've got the boys from Club FFL and a ton of your favorite industry analysts and personalities joining the show. If you want to get in on drafting alongside of us, as well as other industry professionals, go ahead and join our Patreon link at the $5 level. That's how you get early access and a near guarantee then to be a part of these drafts. You can also follow along on Twitter and get the scraps that come after that. But go ahead and just set yourself up to get what you want coming in at the $5 Patreon level. We'll be doing it this weekend, and it's going to be freaking awesome, man. This is a really fun one. It's going to be our 4th one that we've done. So we've gotten kind of good at it up to this point.
Yeah.
So you're getting kind of good at it. Johnny, you're on the clock right now. You're at the 6-7 turn. What's going through your mind? You've taken Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, and Kyler Murray. So you got a nice running back, or you got a running back anchor with 3 really good wide receivers and your quarterback. But where's your head up now? What's up, Rob?
I almost want to do the stack and just grab Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones here and just tie up that RB2, which I'm just going to do that.
Those are the wrong backs, dude. It's Giovanni Bernard, dude.
Yeah, right.
And Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple of players that I was really looking at that I really like, but with this strategy, you kind of have to adapt. And I do think that Leonard Fournette is going to be that lead running back. But again, if I'm taking this strategy, I just need to get 2 running back or two systems as far as running backs that I can count on, and then maybe like a 3rd guy that I can fill in here. And we'll see if I can get him in the next couple of rounds. But I wanted to get some other. I want to go another skill, but I like the wide receivers here, man. There's some.
Let me go ahead and just give a quick shout out to your strategy on this one. I'm taking Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones with these. These are 2 high energy running backs that when they're clicking, they're moving the ball. We've seen it from both of these players in Tampa Bay uniforms. We just don't know who it's going to be. And we both know that they can be very inconsistent. And if you blow a block or drop a pass from Tom Brady, your ass is probably on the bench. But these guys know what they're about, especially with Ronald Jones, who's only 23 years old, and Leonard Fournette is 26. Like, these guys are not as old as you might think, and they have a ton of electricity in those legs. We expect it to be a committee approach starting off, but if one guy gets going, Bruce Arians is not about fairness. He's about who's going to help me win this game, win this moment.
Exactly.
And if one of those dudes steps up and takes over, you now have a electric running back playing behind a great offensive line and a well-coached, well-run team. This all of a sudden becomes a guy you're taking in the 6th, 7th round in a redraft, then would probably be going 2nd or 3rd round. So you go ahead and just lock up that person to pair along with Christian McCaffrey. You've got 3 wide receivers. I just like the move, Johnny, especially in the Tampa Bay backfield. I did it last year in our redraft with Sony Michel and Damian Harris. Neither one of those backs had the juice to actually like be a dude.
But Damian was usable.
They are.
Yeah, he was for
Damian
a while.
Was usable down in the middle of the season, and I think because you had him, you probably treaded water.
You're right
because of that.
Tony here saying
I think Gio is a perfect 0 running back strategy though, like player to pick up. They went out and handpicked Gio Bernard.
He's really good at pass catching.
Yeah, he is.
Dude, look how bad Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette were at pass catching a couple times.
Tampa Bay led the league in running back drops last year.
That is. Yeah, I do want to say that, like, okay, right after me, Jerry Jeudy came off the board, which I was eyeing Jerry Jeudy. I'm becoming like a real fan of Jerry Jeudy this year, as far as him taking a big step, and Cortland Sutton as well. I like him. I think he's an alpha wide receiver.
Can they support 2 wide receivers though, or is just one going to be real?
Hey, Teddy. Okay, so this is where it kind of gets sticky, right? Because Drew Lock likes Cortland Sutton. He's a big body guy. He has a big catch radius, and because Drew Lock's not super accurate, and that's why Jerry Jeudy struggled. However, if they switch over to Teddy Bridgewater is more accurate, but he doesn't push the ball down the field as much or go to contested catches. That's why I'm really starting to come around on Jerry Jeudy is because I believe that it's most likely going to be Teddy Bridgewater and Jerry Jeudy. That dude, his new nickname is going to be like 7-Eleven, because that dude was always open. It was just like Drew Lock would never get him the ball accurately.
Wasn't that like Chris Hogan's nickname?
Yeah, man. Yeah. But no one knows who that guy was.
I thought you were going to say his name is 7-Eleven because he's going to be slurping.
I like that one. That's pretty good. Yeah,
free Slurpee day.
And I do like Michael Carter was another guy that he went to Drew K. Lou. I was kind of eyeing him as well because I like him going into that system. But again, I'm just trying to solidify this roster here a little bit.
Speaking of solidifying the roster, we're solidifying our roster with Whisper Nation by getting first-time viewer Jackson Lezafame over on the show. What's going on up in here? Wrong person to flash, but we're close. You can do it. Here we go. There we go, Jackson. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining the show, man. Thanks for joining the show.
Austin, you want to take this one? You know a lot about Debo and Ayuk here.
Yeah.
So you want to give your input on that one?
Let me go. Now, if you've been listening to me talk about Brandon,
oh my gosh, Travis! Seriously, stop taking my guys every time. Dallas Goedert was the guy I was seriously eyeing in the 7th round.
Sorry,
Austin.
That's what happens, bro.
You guys, Whisper Nation, you need to know how much we really love this. This is a mock draft where Johnny and Travis are 12 picks apart, and you can see Johnny still fuming right now. Like, it is no joke. We do this because we love it and we're psycho and it is who we are. Thanks for joining us. And queuing up there, Tony, thanks for the people's hero over here. 22 people in here, 4 likes, something's off.
Something is off. The math does not compute.
If you're enjoying what you're seeing, please hit that thumbs up and help us grow doing what we love. But back to Jackson's question here on Debo. If you've been listening to the show at all, I love Brandon Ayuk. I think for last year's wide receiver class was one of the most talented we've seen. And Ayuk, to me, is right at the top in terms of explosiveness, opportunity. I love what he's about. But that doesn't take anything away from Debo Samuel. And the roles are not fully defined on this San Francisco team, really at any position. Running back position, wide receiver position, even the quarterback position. There's a lot of question marks up in the air. And Debo Samuel has a very unique play style. As Johnny calls me, he's a pit bull. Like, this dude will go and he will just mess people up. He gets hurt because of it, but we're not going to bank on injuries. Maybe he's picked up that new Tom Brady, Chris Paul vegan diet and his body's working on a different level. So we're not going to bank on injuries. The dude goes after it. So I like Debo Samuel. I like him, especially if you can get him a little bit later. He's kind of like a wild card player to me who has that ability to be very, very impactful, but we're not banking on it because we have a lot of question marks on that team as an entire unit. So, but when the dust starts settling, he might come out ahead as being a very, very viable piece. And the only thing we didn't have right now was clarity, but we know he's good. We know he can get it done. It's kind of about a wait and see thing. I just love him at his current ADP, especially. If he's your dude, go off and get him and celebrate.
the thing I do want to give Austin a little props here, because he was really heavy on Ayuk, and I thought that Ayuk and Debo were a little bit closer, or should be closer in ADP, and so oftentimes I was saying, like, yeah, I would go and get Debo instead. However, after breaking down the system, looking at the target market shares for their wide receivers, I do think Ayuk is the guy that you're going to want in the system. When you look at their ceilings, when they play together, and then when they don't, Debo, even without Ayuk, Debo's ceiling isn't as high as Ayuk's without Debo. So I think that if you're swinging for a guy who can win your league, it's going to be Ayuk. The other thing I want to note, that this is really important, that not a lot of people are talking about, Ayuk and Kittle haven't necessarily played a lot of time and games together. And now that you have Ayuk, Debo, and you also have Kittle, I am a little concerned that Kittle won't be as much of a target monster as he's been in the past. Now, will he still be good? Of course, he's one of the best in the game. But I do think that his market share will come down from that mega market share we saw a couple of years ago.
I think just as likely as that offense becomes super efficient if all three are rolling. We know they're all great talent after the catch. We know the defenses will have to pay attention to them. And then when that guy does get it in space now, you're going to see maybe more gobs of fantasy goodness here when they're able to get the ball in their hands. I think this offense could take an elite efficiency step forward.
Really? That jumped. I had 10 seconds left.
You can't take anything for granted when you're drafting. Technical glitches do occur. Be ready for it in your actual drafts. Talk about how you handle glitches before you click the start draft button. We're mocking, so we're just having a good time. But actually, like, real talk on this one, Whisper Nation. Come up with your league's plan if you are digitally drafting on how you handle technical glitches. Come have a chat, have a Zoom room, do whatever, and have like a safety word. If somebody says, like, in our league, if you say the name of the guy you want before the clock runs out, even if the digital draft room doesn't say you selected him, we say you got it. That's your selection. So just come up with that ahead of time and avoid the person like, nope, they took him. You can't do it. I get the guy. Like, come up with that ahead of time before you actually draft. Get ahead of that problem.
Antonio Brown was definitely going to be that pick. That was very frustrating.
Troy comes in, classic game time.
Yeah.
Classic.
Hey, Troy, my boy. Hey, another Patreon subscriber. So
appreciate you,
so
Troy.
Troy.
Thank you, Troy. Go Suns.
Exactly. Yeah.
How we feeling? I want to take a little pivot here. How we feeling, Suns fans? Can we pull this out? Can we do this? Are we?
I've been there with it. You know what? Like, I'm a diehard Suns fan, as we know this, but I think I can see it like pretty objectively. And one of the things that made me root for the Suns so hard and feel like they had this as a lock was how much we had seen their young stars level up, and Devin Booker, but more importantly, DeAndre Ayton, who people had thought was kind of just a whatever player, who's now moving into like legit big man all-star category. What I didn't bank on was Giannis taking a similar type of jump. And he has gone ahead and he's the alpha on the court. He's the best player there. And when an alpha in basketball really leans in, they have the ability to change the entire flow of the entire game. So Giannis can do it, but we need to take another step up then. And Booker and Ayton can do that. I think it's a pretty even match at this point. I like what DeAndre Ayton said of, hey, this is kind of fun. They were in a position where they were desperate and had to come back and make it happen, and they did. We had a chance to close it out. We failed, but now we get to be in their spot, going to their house, and we got to do it. So I think the best team is going to win this series, and I'm okay with that. I thought it was us at the beginning. Now it's a little bit more of a crapshoot, but I feel good thinking that. I think the best team is going to win this series, and I don't know who that is right now.
I'm sorry. You can't convince me that the best player on the court, or supposedly in the NBA, goes 7 for 28 on jump shots in the series and shoots like 60% from the free throw line. Like, all the Suns have to do, I hope one of the Suns like roster players are watching the show right now, because please just turn Giannis into a jump shooter and keep him out of the lane, which I understand. Keep him out of the lane is easier said than done. I get it, but like, I know, but if you stay home on the shooters, you're going to have a better value. But jumping back into I don't want to get, because I'm just going to get real mad about the
I didn't mean to
Suns
turn
right
this into a Suns pod, but
yeah,
I just
it's
know
all
you
good.
guys. I know you guys appreciate a little bit of space to talk about your team, and I wanted to give you guys that here. I know it's tough.
I appreciate that, Trey. I do want to say once again, Travis, Ryan Tannehill, great value. Tony's saying it as well. I do believe Ryan Tannehill, as of right now, is the best value in fantasy in all of fantasy football right now. The best value. He is so underrated, even from a consistency standpoint. He has I commented a listener. I apologize, I can't remember exactly who had commented, but they were asking about taking Russell Wilson. And I simply broke it down like this. I was like, Russell Wilson is basically 50% of his games, he's going to be a top 12 quarterback. Ryan Tannehill on who you can get several rounds later, he has been a top 12 quarterback like 67% of the time since taking over for Tennessee. And then you expect him to pass even more because he's got a guy like Julio. They no longer have, Arthur Smith, who loves to run the ball. So I do think that they'll pass a little bit more. I think Ryan Tannehill, I think he could honestly be that dark horse QB1 at the end of the year. That's
you think Tannehill could be a dark horse? You think Tannehill's got what it takes right here to be the one? You think they're going to need that much?
Yes, he has a low-key rushing, sneaky rushing upside. That dude can get 5 touchdowns easy every single year rushing, and then you give him
in a run. I'm with Austin that I don't think he could be number 1. Top 5 though, I think he could be top 5. I think he could be there. I think number 1 is going to require all of that rushing ability plus an increase in pass attempts for an offense that just has been able to live off of efficiency because they hand off to one of the best specimens at running back for 25 times a game. So, I mean, yeah, but I do agree with you, Johnny. Like, he's a screaming value. It was going to come down to him or Stafford for me, and I'm glad I got to choose Tannehill over Stafford. I still am very intrigued with Stafford as a late-round quarterback in probably the best offense with the best offensive mind he's ever had. With 2 wide receivers that are just absolutely studly in Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I think people are just still sleeping on Stafford because that small market Detroit vibe that he's coming from. Like, they don't understand. I mean, the Rams seem to understand giving all those picks up. We'll see if that's going to be folly or not, but I'm really in on Matthew Stafford as a late round QB if you missed the boat on QB earlier.
Matt Stafford this year, like, we don't even know what we're about to get.
Talk about dark horse, not dark horse to be number 1, but dark horse to be MVP of the league. I could definitely see Matt Stafford as MVP of the NFL at the end of this year.
Like, I don't think people get how historically awful the Detroit Lions are and how good Matt Stafford actually is. And I just talk about that from listening to other people in the NFL talk about it. And Travis, our boy, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he gives him a ton of like low key love. He's like, this dude is slept on all the time. He's crazy, crazy good.
We talk about like throwers of the football. We talk about that a lot with Aaron Rodgers, just like a pure thrower of the football. When Matt Stafford throws the ball, it's like a work of art. It is so beautiful to watch that dude throw the football.
So I was reading an article yesterday on the weekend of Matthew Stafford being traded, and Kyle Shanahan was really wanting in on Matthew Stafford, and Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay are really close. Kyle Shanahan hired Sean McVay to be like basically his assistant when he was in Atlanta and taught him a lot. And obviously they run similar systems, and they were both talking to each other about Stafford and how they both liked Stafford and how they both thought he was much better than what they evaluated him coming out, and how much he's improved and how much he's underrated. And it was a really funny and interesting article. They were just breaking down how much they both really wanted him. And I do think that people underestimate Stafford because he has played for Detroit. And I do think that he's going to light it up in LA this year.
Sean McVay, I think, is going to make sure of it. It's going to be the best coach he's ever had. It's not going to be the best set of weapons. It's a good situation.
Oh, that's a complete disrespect to what's his
Megatron.
No, not Megatron.
Just had a disrespect to Megatron.
No, I was gonna say that's a huge disrespect to what was the now I'm forgetting the coaches or the offensive coordinator.
Daryl Bevel?
No, he had like
Joe
the best.
Lombardi?
No, Matthew Berry used to say that he had the best.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to say what's up to I'm going to lock it up. The Fantasy Whispers is the great team of mock drafters of all time.
Of all time. We appreciate
that. We love that.
I mean,
love right there.
I hope
because we're about to go into 24 hours of it this weekend. So
24 hours of mock drafting starting this Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Join the Patreon at the $5 level for the Fantasy Whispers. And that way you can catch all of the draft links. And then you get to draft alongside of some of the industry's best and most well-known. Liz Loza, head coach of the NFL, Hugh Jackson. Man, we've got a great lineup coming.
We got Smitty. We have Club Fantasy in there. We got a lot of guests.
We've got John Daigle. We've got people from every nook and cranny of the industry here. We're excited to bring them to you. And the cool thing about this is, we get to bring in some old faces that are, obviously legends and faces that people know. And we get to bring in new people, too, that people may not know that we're discovering for the first time this year and meet them live on air with you, Whisper Nation. Like, we get to do that right here. With this platform. It's a really beautiful thing.
What's up, y'all? Keep it real. Got vacay this weekend. Let's do this. All right. Perfect time.
Johnny, could you fly the Pizza Belly right here? Just joined on Patreon. Thank you so much, Pizza Belly.
Can we do a golf clap?
Amazing.
Golf clap appreciate you so much.
Big Travis got 7 seconds left.
Oh, shoot. I'm over here just in the comments. Oh man.
Oh, Deshaun.
Did not mean to take him. But
I mean, that could actually. I've been reading more and more reports that at first they were saying they didn't expect him to play. Now there's reports coming out that they do expect him to play. I don't know. I think he's going to be a guy that I stay away from this year.
Damn.
But
I gotta say though, we're not making any comment right now on any of the civil cases going on. Obviously, not in support of any of those accusations or any of the behavior that's been coming out. From a pure football and fantasy football side of it, if we're looking at projecting where Deshaun Watson might land, there are updates to that. And Travi, I know you didn't select him, but if you're taking Ryan Tannehill at 9, who we feel really good about as a dark horse value pick, getting Deshaun Watson there in the 11th round as a potential. Now this is a guy who really could be number 1, depending on the spot that he lands on.
Absolutely. And you could sell mystery box to it too as well, right, Austin? Like, we've seen that before when we've seen like a Le'Veon Bell situation. We've been in leagues, our league of record, where Le'Veon Bell changes hands like a couple times in that year, trying to get people to buy on the value of Le'Veon Bell coming back, maybe. So the silver lining is, like, should there be more trickling matriculation of articles and reports to come out that are like, hey, he could come back, you could start to sell that. And then, of course, the ceiling for Deshaun Watson is, like, I wish there were choices made that we didn't have to speak on the other part of this, because Deshaun Watson was one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL. And unfortunately, there were decisions made, and I would not be selecting him. And it just goes back to what we do for this game. Like, we play this game to have fun, and I want to be able to invest in having fun every Sunday when I look at the players on my roster and they're playing. And at this point in the year and what I know of the stories, Deshaun Watson would not be somebody I'd be excited to be starting. It's just not somebody I'd be happy about, even if he were to play this year. So that's just a personal take I have on it. But, we have obviously the football aspect. That guy touches a ceiling like no other in the league. So.
Yeah, definitely on that elite level up there. Johnny, I wanted to ask you here, like, you're coming to close out the draft. We've got just a couple of picks left. Who are some of your favorite end of draft dart throws to target right now?
I told Travis, and I got him in the Scott Fish Bowl. I have been tweeting out about him, probably the second most behind Chase Edmonds. But I am telling Whisper Nation, I'm telling you right now, go out in the later rounds near the end of your draft and get Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers, wide receiver. I'm going to take him right now because I'm telling you, he should see you. You look at where New England is, or what they're doing, where they're leaning towards right now. And hold on, let me make my second pick here, and then and then I'll finish up my statement here. my last pick. What should I do? I gotta.
And while he's queuing up, I want to get Pizza Belly's question here. What are your thoughts on Traequan Smith and or the potential wide receiver number 2 in New Orleans, Travi?
So I have struggled with this because we've kind of been wanting Traequan Smith to happen for a couple of years now. Now, to his benefit, we haven't seen a guy be able to push the ball down the field like Jameis can. You know, we saw Teddy, we saw Drew Brees, both those guys a little bit. I mean, Brees dusted. He used to be able to push it down the field, but he was not able to with Traequan as much. And I actually think I like what Jameis has been saying about Traequan Smith. Johnny's talked about it in practice. He said, just get open, or just run. Even if you're not open, I'm going to throw it to you. We know that's what Jameis does. But Traequan Smith is a guy that I think is worth it in these kind of late rounds. We're talking right here, the last pick of your draft. You might as well, because if he gets the, look, Jameis has supported 2 wide receivers at a time before. We've seen that. So if he can do that again, you're talking about Mike Thomas and you're talking about Traequan Smith, and an absolute bargain to get Smith at the end of drafts right now.
Dude, great take, Travis. And bringing that back to another dart throw wide receiver here in Johnny's. Man, I'm looking at Jacoby Myers' stats from the last 2 years. The man is 24 years old. He's 6'2". He went from 359 yards in 2019 to 729 yards last year. If you get a similar type of increase at the age of 24 and the slot he has on the roster, number 2 behind just Nelson Aguilar, that's a top spot just up for grabs. He's shown rapport already. We'll see how it does with Mac and everything moving forward. But over 1,000 yards is not out of the question at all, right?
Here's what I really like about him, Austin. You talk about him as the number 2, behind only Nelson Aguilar. If you look at what, they brought in 2 tight ends, it looks like they're going, and the talk has been that they're going to go back to the 2 tight end set that we saw back in with Gronk and Hernandez. If you go back to those,
Hunter Henry. Yeah.
Yes. So if you go back to those years, it was 2011, 2012. What I noticed was that Wes Welker and Julian Edelman both played the slot in those years, and both of those receivers got 29% market share for their team. Now, you look at Jacoby Myers and what he did last year. He played half of his routes from the slot. So he should become, now I'm not saying he's guaranteed 29%, but he got 26% last year. So you could see him getting at least 26 with a guy like Mac Jones, who's a lot more accurate. And Austin, you talked about what he did. He had 2 games over 100 yards receiving down that stretch, including one that was 169 receiving yards. And he didn't score any touchdowns receiving last year. And he's still on those. And he finished a couple of 3 games, I believe, as a top 24 wide receiver. So the upside is tremendous for a guy like Jacoby. And like I said, he's basically free. He's going in the 12th round. Yeah. And so I'm grabbing him in every single draft. I'm telling everybody, get him on your team. You're not going to regret it.
Dude, I love that take. You legit just shaped the way I'm going to be targeting some of the ends of these drafts. Speaking of ends of the draft, we got one here. We're done.
I want to throw in AJ Green as another candidate for that last pick in drafts. I'm really buying in on some of the puff hype that's happening right now for AJ Green in Arizona. Yeah, it's man, maybe a change of scene could be enough for this guy to score 10 touchdowns in that offense,
And him and Kyler Murray have been working out all offseason together. All of their workout videos, it's Murray throwing to AJ Green and getting on that same page. So yeah. Oh, right here, Tony's saying AJ Green and best ball. I think it's great.
Whisper Nation, thanks for sticking along with us. We got to the end of this draft. Give a shout out on that one. Thanks for everyone for joining along with us. Been enjoying what you're watching, please consider liking and subscribing and hitting that thumbs up, allowing us to continue growing what we love to do. And we've got a couple of folks who have joined our Patreon at the $5 level. That's going to lock you in to get links to join our mock draft marathon, which starts next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, running for 24 straight hours of mock drafting, a new one every hour on the hour. And those who have subscribed to our Patreon are going to be getting those links coming their way first and have an opportunity to draft alongside of some of the best in the industry, including Liz Loza, the boys from Club FFL, Jay the Plug. We got so many good ones, including, I just am so excited for NFL head coach Hugh Jackson to come on and to share some great stories and show us what's what. But what now we're jumping into is our infamous draft grades, where Travi, Johnny, and myself are going to go ahead and take a look at the rest of Whisper Nation's drafts here that we got going. Each one of us are going to break down 3 of them. One of us will take 4. And then I'll go ahead and do that because I'm the odd one here. And then we'll select our winners from our category. And then y'all let us know who did the best of those 3 finalists. So Travi, Johnny, myself will pick 3 finalists total. Whisper Nation, you can let us know who did the best. Also let us know who did the best between Johnny and Travis. Pit brother against brother on this one. Make them tear each other apart. It's fun to watch. All right, boys. Well,
I thought he was coming at me earlier because I sniped a couple players.
That's the thing. Like, I can't talk trash on his team because he drafted a lot of players that I like. So it's not even like I could be like, oh, he's got a trash team, because he drafted really well. I like Travis's team.
Let's go ahead and get it started. Oh, Tony Reimer said, guys had a good time, and he hit us with the cheers emoji.
Oh, appreciate you. All right. So I will take these first couple here. I got the Cat's Pajamas class. I mean, I got to give this guy, looking at this roster, he's been mock drafting with us for over a year now. And I got to say, he has grown tremendously, brings a tear to my eye, because look at this draft. Dalvin Cook, CEH, I do think CEH is being a little bit overdrafted right now, but I'm okay with it in a PPR. Grabbing Justin Jefferson in the 3rd, Travis Etienne in the 4th, Jamar Chase paired with Jerry Jeudy, Debo, and Elijah Moore. I think that all those are target monsters that could potentially emerge. Minus Elijah Moore, excuse me. He could be that rookie breakout wide receiver. A lot of people think that he could be on that page. And then the way he stacked his running backs, I really like grabbing Joe Burrow and Justin Fields, 2 quarterbacks with really big upside. I really like what the Cat's Pajamas did right here. And
this team just has so much upside.
Yeah, I well done. Like, this is awesome. I really like it. Pizza Belly here. He's got Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, and Raheem Mostert, James Conner, Gus Bus as his 5 running backs. That's a solid. I really like Najee Harris. Then grabbing Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and DJ Chark, and Torrey Smith as his 4 wide receivers. All should be number 1s for their team. Should get a lot of targets. Sorry?
Minus Torrey.
Yeah, minus Torrey, but he should be targeted enough with Jameis as the quarterback that I think he could be a nice flex play from week to week. Grabbing Noah Fant and Irv Smith as your tight ends. I am a fan of Noah Fant as far as being a solid tight end. I'm off the Irv Smith bandwagon, though. I'm not sure he's going to get very many targets. We've already heard the coach come out and say that his role isn't going to expand, which is a little baffling to me, but it is what it is. And then my last team here that I need to grade is Freak Stomp. He got Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, James Robinson, and Todd Gurley as his running backs. He's really banking on Todd Gurley signing somewhere. And then Pat Mahomes in the 2nd. I'm fading Pat Mahomes in the 2nd just because of the consistency charts, which we see in our draft kit, where Pat Mahomes actually is not as consistent as far as a top 12 quarterback for how high you're taking him. I just think that you end up being a little bit disappointed, but don't get me wrong. He does present a huge advantage as far as people want to swing for upside when they have to go against Pat Mahomes. So there is that little like psychological thing that you go through. Grabbing George Kittle in the 3rd, and then as well as Rob Gronkowski as your 2 tight ends, and then he's got Julio Jones, Devontae Smith, Rashad Bateman, Devontae Parker, and T.Y. Hilton as his wide receivers. I'm going to say Pizza Belly, you did very well in your draft. I do like this team. It's pretty solid, but I gotta hand it to my guy for this one. That's a Cat's Pajamas for me. I mean, look at that team. That's a solid team right there.
Nice. So Cat's Pajamas wins the Johnny Heat, and Travis will be evaluating the next 3 here, and Mr. Masik's Brocow 38 and Jacob Bley, our number 1 fan.
All right. Well, we'll jump in here with Mr. Meeseeks. His running back core consists of Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Naheem Hines, and Gio Bernard. Love the Naheem Hines and Gio Bernard, especially in PPR, getting them late right there. Didn't have to spend much. The Zeke Pollard situation is a nice one to have as your RB anchor. You want a little bit more RB robust, but then went away from that completely. DeAndre Swift is your RB2. I think that's where you want to draft him, but I would also want to have more depth for guys if it just doesn't pan out. Let's look at the wide receivers. That should have been where you could get an advantage drafting a little bit like this. So Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, Antonio Brown, and Michael Gallup. I love the upside of Brown. I love the volume of Brandon Cooks, especially in PPR. T. Higgins, I think, is a guy that really, when people look at it at the end of the year, would we be surprised if T. Higgins is the number one wide receiver in Cincinnati? I know Jamar Chase is there, but I think the chemistry is already proven at the NFL level with Higgins and Burrow, so I like that. Cooper Kupp getting absolutely slept on. And then Dak Prescott, where you got him, I thought was great value, obviously coming back from the ankle injury. This team is Darren Waller there too. This team is good. It should be really great. I just think it's a little top heavy. I'm not loving what you did to diversify the running back, so that scares me a little bit. But the wide receivers are definitely plentiful here, and that's you start 3 of them, so that's not a bad place to be. BroCal38 started his running back robust strategy with Saquon Barkley, Gibson, and Josh Jacobs. We talked about Josh Jacobs, and we talked about a situation where now his ADP is getting to a point where we're interested. So that's one to take a look at there. We got Russell Wilson in the 5th. I just don't know with Russ. If he can get a good coordinator and they can stay consistent the whole year, we just have never seen that with Russ. It's either beginning or end is a little dicey. Deontay Johnson here, then Mike Gesicki, Will Fuller, and Corey Davis to round out his wide receivers. I like the Damian Harris in the 9th. Great value there. And then McKissick to kind of protect the Gibson pick. Like his running backs a whole lot better. I think his wide receivers can put up with Mr. Meesick. So we'll go on to Jacob Bley, number 1 fan. Jacob Bley, ball don't lie. Nick Chubb here in the 1st. We love that at the 1-7. Then DeAndre Hopkins, followed by Dobbins for his top 3. Don't love the Dobbins pick, but once again, his ADP is now falling kind of like Josh Jacobs, where we might be interested depending on where he ends up by the time fall comes around. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Laviska Shenault, and Marquise Brown are his wide receivers. Don't have any problem with taking both Tampa wide receivers here. I love the upside of Shenault and Marquise Brown. TJ Hawkinson should absolutely eat target-wise, so we love that at tight end. And then Aaron Rodgers, it's time. It's time to start drafting Aaron Rodgers as if he's playing, because he is playing. And then he was able to get Jalen Hurts. This surprises me greatly. Jalen Hurts in the 11th round, I think, is an extreme value. So he banks on even if Rodgers was able to was going to hold out for some reason. You've got the upside, the Konami code of Jalen Hurts.
Hurts has a top 5 easiest schedule or strength of schedule in the beginning of the season. So that's a great
really quick. When you were talking earlier in the show about Ryan Tannehill being such an excellent value pick, I was going to bring up, I'd say, after Jalen Hurts. Yeah, and I was trying to look up on the draft board of where he had gone, and I thought he had already been taken. He was taken 3 rounds later.
Don't know how I missed that he wasn't taken. I definitely would have taken him where I took Tannehill.
I do like Hurts a lot.
I don't know if this is swinging it enough though, because the running backs for Bley also scare me as well, similar to Mr. Meesick. So I'm just trying to compare. I think I will go with Bley. The value on Hurts is obviously big. He's got. I just wish he had more depth at running back. But the wide receivers are nasty right here. Like Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chris Godwin as your starting 3 to pair with Hawkinson, who could put up wide receiver numbers as far as targets are concerned this year. I just wish one more running back in here somewhere would have done it. But I think he gets it anyways. I think he's just stacking up a lot better than these other teams. I also think squad though with those backs, but yeah.
I also think if he would have taken David Montgomery instead of J.K. Dobbins, that would have been dynamite, in my opinion.
David Montgomery to me is mine. I expect to see him continue to climb, and I think come Labor Day roundabouts, we're seeing him in the 2nd round.
I would not be surprised with that at all.
I hope not.
It's going to happen. There's he's right there. Dude.
I agree. No, I 100% agree with that it should, but I love his value so much right now. It's like, please.
Also, you know how they make those infographics where it changes over time, and they have they should do that with ADP, where it's like you see these guys and they're like a
maybe that's something.
Yeah, honestly, yeah,
like metamorph. What's that? What was that book? Like that book when you're in, they were like morph into a different animal or whatever.
Animorphs.
Animorphs. There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. But it's 80 amorphs.
Keep working.
God, I love
horrible.
you for trying, Johnny. God, I love you for
horrible.
trying.
You miss all the shots you don't take, Michael Scott Wayne Gretzky.
That's right.
That's right. The real whisperer, Death by Rona, in the 8th spot takes Jonathan Taylor. We've been saying after Nick Chubb is the right spot. I still stand by that today. I like that first pick, like where you got him. Aaron Jones in the 2nd round gives you some nice ceiling lift, and David Montgomery might be your most voluminous running back, and he's your 3rd selection deep in the 3rd round. We've said we expect to see David Montgomery climb up. Today, that didn't happen. You got him where you got him, and you have an edge. Also, then with David Johnson there in the 8th round, just another starting running back. We don't expect big things out of him, but we might expect decent volume, and it's his job to lose. So you got another running back to start. You probably got the best running back core of the whole draft here. And then Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Pittman Jr., Henry Ruggs, and Mecole Hardman. For not selecting a wide receiver until the 4th round, you not only got some high floor, you also got some high ceiling weapons there. Allen Robinson is just, this is the number 12 wide receiver in standard, the number 9 wide receiver in PPR, who's 27 years old, who's done it with multiple quarterbacks. You just picked up in the 4th round. Like, he's being slept on and he shouldn't be, and you capitalized there. Adam Thielen, feel pretty comfortable saying he's probably going to be the number 2 behind Justin Jefferson, but don't get too crazy. He's still a number 1 wide receiver last year. He's just 30 years old. Not concerned about that, the wide receiver position. And 14 touchdowns last year. So I like that as your number 2. And then between Juju Smith-Schuster, Pittman, Ruggs, and Mecole Hardman, like, you got a lot of really good dice rolls here. That they're not even dice rolls. They're pieces on the team. Mecole Hardman is the number 2 wide receiver on the best offense in the league. Ruggs was formerly the number 1 overall selected wide receiver, fastest guy in his draft, who's just 22 years old. Pittman, we expect to see more things out of him. And Juju Smith-Schuster, like, as much as we like to drag on him because he didn't ascend to be this top-level wideout, was the number 17 wide receiver in PPR last year. Like, this is a great, great squad with Justin Herbert as your lead quarterback, who you got at a nice value. And then to close it out with Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry, 2 very high upside or tight ends that are going to hold some wide receiver value. This is a kick-ass draft.
Yeah, really like it.
All right, moving on to Drew K. Liu, who takes Tyreek Hill as the first wide receiver off the board. Let's talk about his wide receivers here in the 3rd round. Then he pairs Tyreek Hill up with Terry McLaurin. These are my 2 wide receivers I have in Dynasty. I like that. Kenny Golladay there then in the 5th. Robbie Anderson, Jarvis Landry, and Rondale Moore there to round out your wide receiver troop. This is a nice set of wide receivers. Terry McLaurin and Tyreek Hill, that's fire. Kenny Golladay should be really nice, but he's coming off of a hip surgery. We just haven't seen it happen yet. Might take a little bit of time. He's adjusting to a new team, new quarterback, new pelvis, but, you know, like, we expect it to come through. So you got a nice set of wide receivers with some real upside there in Tyreek Hill and Terry McLaurin, and pending health with Golladay as well. Your quarterbacks are going to be either Stafford or Matt Ryan. I'm down on Matt Stafford this year because of Dave Ragone and the points that Johnny had mentioned earlier. But I'm way high on Matt Stafford, so I like that pickup. And I think Phillip Lindsay's actually who you got in the 13th round is who's going to lead the Houston Texans in overall activity by the end of the season. That's my pick for Houston. So this is a good squad. Wow. It's a good squad, but I'm moving on now to NYG Noah, and Real Whisper is on top for me right now. But moving over here to NYG Noah and then Don Flick afterwards. He takes Stephon Diggs as the 2nd wide receiver off the board. A lot of reasons to go along with that, given he's a number 3 wide receiver, and it's just his first year linking up with Josh Allen. Expect good, incredible, impressive things to come between those 2. He takes Travis Kelce there and Josh Allen. This is a fun 1, 2, 3. Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen. We could say 3 elites.
Plus a double dip.
Plus a double dip. Like, you win for fun. Like, you definitely win the fun one here. CeeDee Lamb then, Lockett and Waddle. High upside, other guys on the team. I see what you're doing. High ceiling, not low floor, but unstable. Mike Davis. Then so there's the wide receivers. We got Stephon Diggs, we got CeeDee Lamb, we got Tyler Lockett, we got Waddle. Darnell Mooney, the internet's favorite, Russell Gage, and Beasley. Damn, I'm surprised Russell Gage is still available at the 12th round, but maybe given those points Johnny had made about a decrease in the passing value, we shouldn't expect crazy things out of Atlanta's number 2. Still to be serviceable, but nothing crazy like we've seen in years past. I think he's got good wide receivers. It could be great. It could be great if CeeDee Lamb takes a massive step, if Waddle fills in. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Maybe this is like in a dynasty situation, I'd really like this wide receiver more than I would in a redraft this year, but it's still nice. At the running back spot, you didn't take one until the 5th round, but you went ahead and got Javonte Williams, who I like there if you're taking your number 1. Mike Davis then is your number 2. Mike Davis is the number 1, but maybe his upside's a little bit limited just because of who he is. But Javonte Williams, and he's not the starter, but he has maybe some upside from the mystery box rookie perspective. Interesting pairing. And then Singletary and Kenneth Gainwell. I think you got a serviceable squad, but you're going to have some unstable floors. You're going to need some things to work out.
It's like, will that big 3 be able to carry the days that like Lockett is down, or Mike Davis and Javonte Williams don't do that?
Well said, Travi. Yeah,
I love how he said that he's never done a no RB strategy for 4 rounds, and I want to just take a second real quick to say, like, awesome, good for you for trying it out and really testing it, because that's one of the major reasons we're here and why we fill this up every single week with not just computer, because we want to help Whisper Nation try out different strategies as well. So kudos to you for trying it out, man.
And a couple other, if he would have faded on Tyler Lockett, and like, I'm a big fan of James Robinson. I think he's going to get over 200 carries. You talked about Fournette, Jones. Wasn't a ton of other guys there available, but maybe taking one of the guys who has some volume there in the 6th round could have really boosted it up. But at Tyler Lockett, if you believe in what he's about, then I get that piece too. He can be a league winner for you if that comes through. Moving over to the last judgment of the day, Don Flick. What's going on? Donnie in the 11th spot, he selects DK Metcalf, 3rd wide receiver off the board. Going along with the wide receivers in the 3rd, he takes Amari Cooper, still their technical number 1. And then Brandon Ayuk there in the 6th. Really like him. We talked about Brandon Ayuk's upside and expected role on the team earlier in the show. Curtis Samuel there should get a bump up there. You already have Ryan Fitzpatrick talking about him. Amon-Ra St. Brown there in the 11th. Love to see his ADB creeping up. It's a whole cast of misfit toys over there in Detroit, but they went out and got St. Brown, so they do have some plans for him. We'll see what he does with his initial role. And then Paris Campbell. We're just banking on him being healthy and finally showing us what he's about. A couple of injury-plagued seasons, but the Indianapolis Colts still have a lot of hope for him. I think taking him that late is a nice pick. So I like your wide receivers here. I think they got a lot of really nice upside, especially considering how you kind of spaced them out. Running back selection, Cam Akers there in the 2nd, and Miles Sanders is some really nice upside. Kenyon Drake, if something happens to Josh Jacobs or he really does take over that 3rd down pass catching role, you're in a decent spot. Holding my breath though on Miles Sanders and the whole running back situation until we see a little bit more. There's just so much in the mix. Drafting Kenneth Gainwell, new coach, new quarterback you expect. And Joe Flacco, just kidding. Speaking of quarterbacks, moving over here to Don Flicks, he takes Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield. I actually really like that pairing. And shoot, guys, if Tom Brady was playing on a torn MCL, like the news came out this week, and was still able to, we know he won a Super Bowl, but he had over 4,600 yards and 40 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, it was wild.
He was good and kind of a slow start too. Like Tom Brady was legit last year, and his weapons are insane. And you might say he's even better this year because he's actually got a knee. So I like that.
Yeah, 40 touchdowns. Imagine if he had his knee intact.
Better rapport with the weapons, better knee, all kinds of good stuff. I'd feel excited about that. And Baker Mayfield too. I think he's got an uptick year coming up, and you got them both. This is a really good squad. I like this one, Don Flick. But it's going to the real whisper, death by Rona for me. And honestly, it's him and it's him alone for my 4 on this one, just with those 3 running backs that are so solid. But then the wide receivers can still too. They can compete right there. And you need Justin Herbert to not do what Johnny thinks he's going to do and regress. But if he goes the way that he could and just does what he did last year, you're in a phenomenal position. So that's my pick. So we got what? We got the real whisper, Travis.
Cat's pajamas. I had Jacob Bley. And we had the Cat's pajamas. And then obviously the real whisper. All 3 of these gents Patreon subscribers, all 3 of them just supporters of the brand, and all 3 of them have been mocking with us since February and a lot, actually, years before that, and it's showing because they're dominating these drafts, and I can't wait to have them dominate with us mock draft marathon this weekend.
This weekend. So make sure last pitch on this one. If you haven't joined the Patreon subscription at the $5 level and you like what you're seeing, consider doing that because we're going to be sending our live links for the mock draft marathon, which is next week starting at 10 a.m., 24 straight hours alongside of other industry professionals. You can draft alongside some of those well-known names, including yours truly here, Liz Loza, head coach Hugh Jackson, the boys from Club FFL, Jay the Plug. A lot of great stuff coming up at you next week. So make sure you follow on Twitter. But if you subscribe on the Patreon $5 level, you'll be able to be a part of that game action with all of the industry professionals. Is that right, Johnny?
Absolutely.
All right. Big Trav, anything I'm missing?
No, just have a great day, everybody. We're above ground. Let's go out there and get it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Austin Steer.
Subscribe if you haven't.
There's Johnny Game Time Hicks. Big Travie right there. I'm Austin Sear. We're the Fantasy Whispers. We're out. Peace.
Right here.
Oh, hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you like what you saw and you want to learn how to dominate your own draft and win your own league, head on over to thefantasywhispers.com and grab your copy of the Fantasy Whispers Draft Kit today. Or click the link in the description below. And if you're still not sold, check out one of these videos.